2021, 2022, and even now when we are resuming face-to-face, we are doing so much online, virtually. So we do what is called blended training, which we have realized it is helping us reach a wide vast of audience. We also operate in Africa. We do quite a number of countries in Africa. We host actually the ADEA ICQN for mathematics, science, education. We also work closely with the African Union. We also host the SMASE Africa as an association for development of education, science, mathematics, science, education in Africa. And one of the things that we do is the conference, annual conference, what we call the ComStandard, that is the Conference for Mathematics, Science, and Technology Education Development in Africa. And when Corona set in, our pandemic set in, we still continued with our conferences, which we are doing online. Currently, from yesterday, if my team can correct me, the conference started in Kampala, Rwanda, and our staff are participating. It was organized virtually and is going on virtually every day from 2 p.m. So this is how technology is able to make us advance and be able to achieve so much. Therefore, we are in the right forum, ladies and gentlemen. More so for us as a Mastea, this is what has kept us afloat, and every other day is an opportunity to learn how best we can do it, because we are answer to the government to advise on what we should be doing. And like when pandemic came in, we were able to set the pace and others followed, and we're able to do so much. So once again, welcome to Semastia. We look forward to interact with you. You said it's an opportunity for us to connect with our old friend Suraj. You're among the first people who made us ICT compliant. I saw Stephen Ondwell around. Where are you? Yes. They worked very closely with Suraj, and we worked with him. We were able to train teachers various places in this country. Still, with those skills learned, virtually, we are also working with certain universities. Our staff were able to be trained by some professors who are some in Tokyo, others in Canada, and they did a whole training on research virtually. We are collaborating with another university now in Canada, where we are able to train our teachers there. They went to schools, taught their students, and we were able even to go further and assess those students. We gave physical exam, then from there it was marked in Canada, and we earned the award in here. So that's what technology can make us do. And we're able, we may not have been to Canada, but we are gaining from the good experiences. So ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a good cause. And therefore, at this juncture, welcome to Semastia. Welcome to this, the Kenya EdTech Summit 2022. The 2 days, I believe, are going to be very short because already I'm encouraged. You braved the rains and you are here. You can never go back the same. So welcome, everybody. And with those remarks, allow me now to invite the Principal Secretary, State Department of Basic Education, Ministry of Education, to make his remarks and open this summit for us. I may request you that you are upstanding as our Principal Secretary takes the podium. Would you clap until he tells us to stop? We'll clap until he tells us to stop. Until he tells us to stop.
Thank you. We can see it. So the director, Semastia, represented by the Deputy Director, Madam Lydia, the CEO, EdTech, participant. Personally, I am very much delighted. Good morning. I'm delighted because in as much as I'm representing my boss, I'm coming to a summit where I will not have a challenge demystifying technology, but I will have a challenge demystifying pedagogy on how technology can enhance technology and pedagogy. So I want to say I will depart a bit from the speech, but before I do that, anytime you are representing your boss, you first of all give the remarks, his remarks, and then you go to your ideas. So you allow me to do that. The principal secretary and the leadership of the ministry, led by the cabinet secretary, sent me to give you warm greetings. And we welcome you into this sphere of EdTech. As an education sector, we feel honored that you can be able to organize yourself, and the reports that are coming from this consortium, we are able to see them, and they are really challenging us, and also they are helping us to feel that, yes, we are being appreciated, because when EdTech companies, first of all, recognize the effort of the ministry, the principal secretary said he is very happy for the way we have collaboratively worked, and he promised to his support, and we are going to continue working together. That is his remark, and he challenged us. In fact, this is the last part of his remark. He challenged all of us to ideate, to innovate, and make our education system resilient and sustainable. That is something that he told me to say before I just go to my thoughts in this summit. In this summit, I will do a presentation. And allow me to challenge ourselves. We challenge ourselves, and I said, how can we go beyond chalk and talk? And we look at Kenya. We have done a lot. That is a theme. And in this presentation, I will take very little time, but I want you to take note on slide number 3 and slide number 8. This is just information, the importance of ICT in education. That one I don't want to read, and I will request that we go, because basically this is information, and I will leave this slide with the CEO, EdTech, in order for us to challenge ourselves whether we are able to achieve this. This slide is very critical, and I have said this is a slide that will take a minute or two for you to be able to understand the ICT in education model. How do we integrate technology in education? How can you plug in your expertise and your product into education? What we usually say, we do provide information like I'm doing now. And that once we provide information, we offer leadership. The leadership that we need is in the 4 pillars. Critically, the 4 pillars are very critical. We call it 4 imbalance model, that you remove one, ICT in education is not working. The first pillar is policy formation. I'm happy, I'm privy to the information and to the report that was released recently by the consortium. And I'm happy that in the policies that we have, they were able to recognize they have met quite a benchmark, and they gave us a challenge on about 4 areas. And so basically, what I'm trying to say, on the policy we are doing very well. I will be able to highlight in another slide what is it that is new in the policy pillar. There is aspect of capacity building. This one I want to challenge each one of us. Kindly, it's one thing deploying technology. It is another thing utilizing the technology. Because you can deploy a technology that our educators, our teachers cannot be able to utilize. So kindly note there is a pillar on capacity building, and always factor in that aspect of capacity building in it. There is content, and content, yes, we have the custom-made content. We have Kenya Education Crowd, but we are departing from it a bit in order for us to allow innovation within our teaching fraternity, and we encourage them to do what we call user-generated content. Then there is now the infrastructure. Infrastructure involves the devices and the connectivity. So the 4 pillars, we cannot work alone as a ministry. We collaborate with the same way we are doing now with partners and agencies. And once we collaborate well, we are able to seamlessly integrate ICT in teaching education, and we deliver quality education for development. Majorly, this is the model. You kindly try to identify within a pillar if you can do 4 well and good. If you can pick one and plug in your technology, it will work well for us. I think the other slides are just information. And this one is very critical. We have a policy, national, that we call it ICT in education and training policy, a sector policy, and a sector, I mean it cut across from early learning to the university education. So these are the thematic areas. Apart from these, there is a whole chapter on resource mobilization and partnership, another chapter on implementation structure. Majorly, it's very important that you understand the policy is there. And I think we can go next. The next one is highlighting one of the major projects, that is digital literacy program, the one you used to call a laptop project. This is the model. There was phase 1 that is already deployed. And you can see the key thing in phase 1, look at the purpose. The other issues, we can be able to look at it later. But look at the purpose of phase 1, it was learning to use the technology. And phase 2, we are intending now to use using to learn, or using technology to learn, very critical component. And then phase 4 is using technology to produce. Majorly, you understand we are in the new curriculum. And in the new curriculum, there is a competence on digital literacy. And critically, we needed to have this technology to enhance delivery of curriculum. The next one is, what is it that we have in the secondary sphere or sector? We do have a program that we call Computer for School program. In the secondary, we can go to the next slide. The Computer for School program, annually we deploy technology into our institutions, and this is for primary education, but it will reach a point where it's going to the secondary sector, and the other one is for the secondary school. This one I have explained. Let's go to the slide that is very critical. This is another slide that is very critical. How can we sustain? You cannot sustain if you don't periodically review your policy. Also, we need to enhance the teacher capacity. We need also to enhance remote learning infrastructure. And number 4, adopt public-private partnership strategies. And that's why we are here. We are really supporting this initiative. And I want to say that we will continue working together. This is a slide that is very critical. I want us to ask ourselves a few questions. And these are dimensions, after doing a lot of research, dimension of a resilient education system. Let's start with the first one. Kindly, let's ask ourselves very critical questions that are here. We ask ourselves, a resilient education system required to provide very flexible approaches on how we deliver learning. The first one is when and where learning occurs. We ask ourselves whether can we, during COVID, we didn't continue. I remember we kind of had to close our institution for about 6 months. And to some level, for about 9 months. But we needed to ask ourselves these few questions here. Look at the first one, when and where learning can occur. Can we study during the weekend? Can we continue studying in the evening? How can we achieve the very first question? The second question is what and how students will learn. How can we adopt a modular approach? Can we be able to have that flexible way of learning from all levels? At all levels, pre-primary, primary, and even other higher institutions. How do we deliver this instruction? This is a question that we're asking here. Must we be in a school-based? Yeah? Number 2, if we go web-based, what are the challenges on maybe assuring quality of the education that we are going to deliver? The other one is, how are we going to organize our education? Must it be individual, or we can even have a group on aspect of collaboration? What type of learning resources? That is the one that we need to ask ourselves. That should be provided to the learners. And how do we deploy that resource? The other one is, what technology are used for learning and also in the administration? Very important is this aspect of assessment, that when and how to provide assessment and evaluation. And we still maintain integrity. And finally, then what is it that we can do to support our teachers? Because they require support. Ladies and gentlemen, education can provide this. How is what we were being challenged by the principal secretary. We need to ideate, we need to look at how best can we do this to make our education sector in the country resilient, and we are sure that if by, God forbid, if by any chance we have another disruptor, because COVID was one among many. So we are ready to be able to continue learning, and we will be like the developed economies that they didn't stop education system. They only maybe adopted a different model. So I want to challenge each one of us, me included. We think through the 2 days. You have seen what the government has done. And how can you plug into what we have been able to do? And ladies and gentlemen, with those many remarks, on behalf of the Principal Secretary, I want to officially declare this EdTech Summit officially open. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for our speaker. I think that's a really good challenge to us, looking at really what should work, what works for the Kenyan education ecosystems. That's really very important as we move forward. And over the next 2 days, I'm sure you're also going to realize how important it is that we create content and innovate based on the needs of our learners or our target market. In this case, we're looking at the stakeholders, not just the education or learning institutions, but also the parents, the learners themselves, and everybody else who is involved in the entire ecosystem. And so, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our next speaker, who is Mr. Suraj Shah, the lead Government and Strategic Partnerships at the Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning at the Mastercard Foundation. A round of applause for him. He's also the person that I'm sure everyone has their eyes on, because when they said, funders, please put your hands up,
I hope I wasn't the only one. Very good morning. Thank you very much. Francis Karanja, representing the Principal Secretary, Ministry of Education, also been our guest at EdTech Mondays and leading the NI3C. I always struggle to do the full, and since the concept of NI3C back in, I think, 2010 or at KTTC. Madam Muridhi, yes, we've worked together. Thank you for hosting us. You remember even back then, 14 years ago, when I used to come here, and I used to say this was home for me, and wished we could have moved our offices here. All our partners, Banakimodo, thank you always for your support for years and years. Jennifer, Shiko, and team, fantastic to put this together. Today is more around technology and less around me talking a lot about, on these welcoming remarks. I'll try and keep it brief. I want to talk a little bit, and a lot of it already has been said. I think it kind of remains for us to just connect all the dots. Look, government has already welcomed us. Let's go work together. They have recognized that they will need help to achieve their targets. This, for me, or for us, represents an ideal EdTech government scenario. The objectives of these are, how do we help our young learners get the right, improve their education outcomes and skills for the jobs of today and tomorrow? And how do we build our country based on that? But there are a few areas that we perhaps need to work on together as the government, Ministry of Education, as the EdTech community, as other stakeholders supporting the improvement of education outcomes and skills. Next slide, please. I don't want this to be too much of a slideshow, so I'm just going to take you through this. There is a strategic value of EdTech. Education technology has proven the potential to significantly improve learning in Africa. That means access, better education outcomes, better skills, simply put. the demand side of EdTech has been sort of one-sided at the moment. And I think through convenings, discussions, open channels of discussions, we can improve the demand side to become, absolutely what the government has in mind, and how do we help them bridge those, demands. Everyone has talked about this. I'll just briefly mention that the pandemic opened our eyes. I think up to now, and I'm talking about, this is not just a Kenya scenario. We did a workshop in Rwanda last week. We met with other EdTech stakeholders the week before in Ethiopia. We've been in Lagos, we've been in South Africa so far. We've been in Mauritius at the ADEA conference, and everyone says this. Up to now, whereas integrating technology in education was a nice to have, it has now become a must have. And how do we collectively together create a more resilient education system? You saw the slides by Bwana Karanja. The government is already quite a few steps ahead. How do we help them achieve those outcomes? It's all right, it's fine. There are a few systemic barriers. There's limited education skills and data for everyone, for the governments to make the relevant decisions based out of that, for education stakeholders, for the EdTech communities, for development partners like us. Where is the actual gaps? Can we get the right up-to-date data and make decisions out of that? There's the policy scenario in Kenya is definitely a lot more open to discussions with the private sector to say these are our policies, this is how often we will keep it updated, and these are the dialogues through which we'll do that. Of course, infrastructure, and I'm glad to see a few infrastructure partners here, that's always going to be a challenge, but there are innovative ways to overcome those, and I've seen in the room some EdTech entrepreneurs, organizations that also overcome the barriers of infrastructure. And then one of the biggest things, and I think it's been discussed, is how do we change mindsets? How do we kind of come out of this? ICT and EdTech is not a subject on its own. It is a tool that will help us improve education outcomes and access to education. Next slide, please. So based on this, the Mastercard Foundation's Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning is trying to do this. It is helping the EdTech, innovative EdTech solutions to bridge the gaps perceived by government and enable to create a lasting impact and scale. We want to bring about a better understanding of data and how that data may be collected, analyzed, and kind of informed decisions made out of that. And we want to help support governments mainstream more resilient hybrid models of learning to avoid the kind of learning disruptions we faced during the pandemic. Anything that prevents learning from a bricks and mortar school, do we have a solution that could prevent that kind of loss of learning in the future? So how do we help create resilient education systems? With that, I don't want to say much more. We are amongst some great experts, Madam Urithi, we evangelists of integrating technology in education with Bwana Kizito. Stephen, you're here as well, I hear. There you are. Mr. Kimotho, formerly of KICD, we actually helped launch a curriculum innovation center, which kind of incubated different ideas for curriculum development in Kenya. And of course, Bwana Karanja, NI3C is, the beaconhead of all things that need to be incubated, education technology, content-wise. So we're here with really good partners. I look forward to some seriously good discussions. If there are a few key takeaways we can take from Mr. Bwana Karanja's advice, let's create that dialogue when we can constantly communicate the progress made by the EdTech community and how we can fit into the national plan. and how do we keep them updated of new advances that we're doing. This room is full of innovators. There are things that an old person like myself cannot even imagine that keeps happening on a daily basis. So congratulations on EdTech East Africa for creating the summit. Highly timed, and thank you. We look forward to the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Suraj, for those great remarks. And don't forget, yeah? Remember what I said before? Don't you forget, because he is the person you're going to want to talk to today. And now let me introduce our next speaker, who is Ms. Shiko Mbugwa, the country lead for EdTech Hub here in Kenya. A round of applause for her. So we've heard from Jennifer about why we're here and also what we should expect, but also what is expected from us. I would like to encourage us before Shiko goes on with her presentation to please take advantage of the Slido platform. And you can also encourage other people to come in today by using the hashtag Kenya EdTech Summit and also EdTech 254. You can also follow the EdTech East Africa platforms on your social media handles and also all the other partners as well that we are seeing right here, EdTech Hub inclusive. So please make sure to do that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Bwana Karanja, representing our ministry, we appreciate your presence. Madam Lydia, thank you so much for having us here. My colleagues, Jed, Bwana Kimodo, Suraj, and many others who have worked tirelessly to see this day, our esteemed guests. I am deeply privileged to be standing in front of people who are passionate like me about the children of this country, about bettering the education system, and about ensuring, is that better? That technology can be leveraged to get our children where we want them to be. I don't know what you say after you speak after such a great lineup. So let me just say I am a product of the Kenya public education system. And I think I am, like many people in this room, proof of what can happen when we invest very strategically in the education of our children. My name is Shiko. I work with EdTech Hub, and we are in the business of evidence and data. My boss is here. Said rather that's a sufficient introduction. We're a partnership that is funded solely for the purpose of generating evidence around what works, in what context, what doesn't, when you're implementing EdTech in education. So essentially, me and a lot of other people in this room who do research should be spending sleepless nights because all of you are calling us all the time because you want to figure out what works, especially in this context. Let me also say that Kenya being one of the focus countries for EdTech Hub is also really privileged to, I think, have majority of that fund carry out research in this country. So really, really, truly, I am serious. Please bug us for data because we do need data. We do need to implement with a lot of strategy and with a lot of knowledge. I wanted to ask these 5 questions that at EdTech Hub we're currently obsessed with. I know today is very much focused on evidence, and that was very deliberate. We're trying to overemphasize, and I don't think that we can overemphasize, that really if we don't understand the context of our schools, the context of our learners in the different counties, and what it is they require, what their cultures enable them to learn when we're implementing technology, we will not be successful. So it can't be a copy and paste. We need to do the work to use, to generate and to use the evidence. And I've already told you, I will take responsibility for the generation. So please bug me so that you can use that data. But these are the 5 questions that we're asking ourselves every day. Obsessed with answering as well, that I'd love for you all to carry with you. I think we will have a couple of these cards in the Solutions Lounge. I'd love for each of you to go put it somewhere at the corner of your desk as a reminder. When we're thinking about technology, whether we are practitioners, whether we are government, whether we are EdTech solution providers or entrepreneurs, will this use of technology lead to a sustained impact on learning outcomes? Because at the end of the day, We want our children to improve in their learning outcomes, and technology can leverage that. Will this use of technology work for the most marginalized children and enhance equity? I think everyone who has spoken before me has said that it has been proven. Technology has immense potential to bridge the gap of equity. But we are also at risk that if we don't implement it in the right way, it can exacerbate the bridge between those that are especially in the urban areas and those that are most marginalized. So when we're thinking about technology, can it work for the most marginalized children in our country? Will the use of this technology be feasible to scale in a cost-effective manner? Public system is a huge system in every country, and this solution needs to make sense for government to even consider it. Will this use of technology be effective in the specific implementation context? So are we picking something from another country and just coming and copying and pasting, or are we using evidence to understand what our children really need and what they need to access? So I think it's what you were speaking to, Bwana Karanja, is how do we ensure that the quality of the technology and the content is appropriate, but then also contextually relevant? And the last one, which I particularly love, I think the people who work closely with me know I advocate for this all the time. We are all doing amazing things, and that's why I love the idea of bringing us all together. We're all implementing amazing things. We are all passionate about offering solutions in EdTech. But unless we align with the government priorities, and unless we align with the public education system, we will still have limited impact. And so this is a question that I would like a lot of us who are in this room that are not government to think about. Government have made their pledge. They are here. They are open to work with us. What are our solutions bringing to the table? Are they aligning with what their plans are? Are they aligning with what's possible for them? Because until we are able to access every child, that's the only way we'll reach the most marginalized, and that's the only way we'll get the impact that we want. I rest my case there. I hope I have beaten the drum, but we really do look forward to engaging with you all within the next 2 days. Karibuni.
Thank you so much, Shiko, for these 5 questions. Of course, will you use technology to lead a sustained impact on learning outcomes? I think that's the most critical of the other 4 questions. And also, looking at all the 5, I hope that we are really gearing up to making 2023 a better experience for the beneficiaries of the technologies that we are innovating, and also the people that we are supporting with the different content that we are coming up with from both the educational side as well as the technology side. So another round of applause for Shiko as well. And just like she said, please bug her. Bug her for that data. It's going to help you out when you are looking at creating technologies that are relevant to the Kenyan education ecosystem. So please bug the EdTech Hub Kenya. Also bag the Mastercard Foundation, who have done so many studies about primary education, secondary education as well. There are different reports that could help you out or guide you when it comes to developing technologies that are relevant to our Kenyan ecosystem. And also EdTech East Africa as well, that have done different studies in regard to education technology around the East African education or EdTech space in this case. So we're just about ripe for our tea and networking. I feel like we just got here and we're already up for tea. I don't know if that's a good thing, but before we do that, I would like for us to try and tweet something. If you are on Twitter, tweet something about the Kenya EdTech Summit. And I like to do that by sometimes taking a selfie, but for today, I think I am going to take a video just to be sure that people are actually tweeting about this EdTech Summit. So please grab your devices. No, I'm not taking evidence, but yeah, you could actually say, you could say that. I'm collecting evidence because today our theme is actually working with the evidence, right? And so let's take our devices, and we've had 5 speakers so far. I think we have picked something from our different speakers today, from Jennifer as well to Madam Lydia, who spoke to us earlier, and also to Mr. Francis Karanja, as well as Mr. Suraj Shah, who talked to us as well, and Ms. Shikombugo as well, who talked to us earlier, who just talked to us right now. So please tweet something. It could be a picture, it could be just something. Tweet about the EdTech Summit. And the hashtag we are using today is Kenya EdTech Summit. You can also add another hashtag. I don't know if we have those hashtags here, but I think they'll be there at some point. Kenya EdTech Summit, and also EdTech 254. Those are the two hashtags that you can work with. And you can also follow the social media handles for our partners. To begin with, EdTech East Africa, that is on Twitter, on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook. And you can also follow the MasterCard Foundation Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn handles as well. And you can also add the Young Africa Works Facebook page right there, where you will find most of the EdTech Mondays content for you to be able to digest and consume, or consume and digest, as well as the other partners. EdTech Hub, I've seen on LinkedIn. Does EdTech Hub have a Twitter handle? EdTech? Global EdTech, right. Yes, you can follow those Twitter handles. And there's also the Acumen Twitter handle as well, and Imaginable Futures. You can please make sure to follow and ask your neighbor what the Twitter handle for their organization is, and please make it a point to follow so we can all learn from each other as well. So it's now time for us to do the tea, and we're going to head on out and take some tea. But what's important for us to note is that we are going to go back to our Slido platform. Have we all checked it out? Have we scanned it? Have we looked at the website? Are we there? Are we there? Anyone who hasn't accessed slido.com? The fact that we don't have hands raised, everyone is on Slido. All right, so on Slido, there is a part where we are looking at the breakout sessions. And so if you look at the platform right there on your Slido platform, it gives you the overview of everything that's happening. So you're able to select a room, and the room that we are going to go to next is going to be the Learning Out Loud workshops, which are right there on your second slide. So if you tap on the Learning Out Loud sessions, you're going to be able to see the different sessions or the different rooms that you can take part in. And the first one, of course, is the Simba room, where if you are interested in a session on using technology to support teacher professional development, the Simba room is the one that you're going to tap. If you're interested in creating differentiated packages to reach and support last mile schools, you're going to tap the Nyati room. And if you are interested in building personalized learning for teaching at the right level, you're going to tap Ndovo room. And if you're interested in empowering parents and caregivers to lead tech-enabled learning at home, you're going to tap the club room, the Choi room. Why is my mind talking about the club or thinking about the club? I have no idea. Choi, please, backspace. And if you're interested in supporting learners with, it's only Wednesday, guys. If you're interested in learning about supporting or taking part in supporting learners with disabilities through assistive technologies, Kifaru Room is the right platform for you. So please make sure to do that. And if you have any questions whatsoever, all the questions in this event are going to be sent using your name. So if you're on the platform, you can make sure you do that. There's also a part on the same platform that actually says, there's a place for ideas there, so you can share your key takeaways from your workshop sessions, and you can also share questions as well on the same platform. So if you do not have the Slido platform, please make sure to scan it. Or does anyone want to scan it once again? We can put it up on the screen for you. Otherwise, it's on the booklets that are in your hampers right there next to you. So please pick them out and scan the code right there. The code is right there. If you can't scan, you can use the website URL, which is slido.com, and enter the code, which is 1572799, for you to be able to select what session you want to attend. So the Simba rooms, if you did the scavenger hunt, I'm sure you saw the different layout on the rooms. And if you would like to also lend your voice to the media are around, you are going to have an opportunity to do that right after the sessions. And also the journalists who are in the room will be looking for different parties or different stakeholders in this case that they would like to interview. So please feel free to, if you would like to, or if you're okay with it, and you can lend your voice to the media, kindly do so when they approach you, because one of the stakeholders that we have is the media. They are here to preach the message of how important EdTech is in ensuring we achieve blended learning in Kenya today. So those are the rooms, take advantage of them. We are now going to head out for tea. And as we head out, please try and make sure you find out from the person next to you, the person you're going to be talking to, what their organization is about. I know nearly half of everyone who is in this room, because at least 50% of the people here have featured on the different EdTech Mondays that we have at the Mastercard Foundation. And so it's really great that you pass on this interaction with the people who are right next to you. Thank you so much. And we're also going to be having the Summit Hall later, so do also prepare for that as well. You can get ready. This is going to be happening right after lunch. It's going to be an interactive session, one that will be closed to the media, so you don't have to be afraid that a question you ask one of our government representatives will feature somewhere in a media house and they'll come looking for you. But no, you can feel free. It's going to be a closed session, and you can ask any questions whatsoever for you to be able to get those responses you've been looking for from our government representatives. Thank you so much. Let's enjoy our tea, and we'll be back here right in time for our next session. Thank you so much.
In 2020, the Mastercard Foundation launched EdTech Mondays, a platform to mainstream discussion and crowd in action on using technology to drive learning. What started as an education technology conversation in Rwanda has grown into a vibrant Pan-African dialogue with the Continental Show on CNBC Africa and Young Africa Works.
A very warm welcome to EdTech Monday Regional Edition. I'm Julie Gishuru, and it's a great pleasure to have you with us.
How sure are we that what Mailana is accessing is authentic, is approved?
Parents, of course, they were concerned about learning loss, but they were also really concerned about children's well-being.
And spin-off conversations on radio, TV, and online.
This is EdTech Monday on City FM. It's also live on Facebook and YouTube.
Welcome to EdTech Monday Uganda, brought to you by the Mastercard Foundation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of EdTech Monday Kenya.
EdTech Mondays has become a leading platform bringing together policymakers, EdTech innovators, parents, teachers, and young people. Fostering connections, catalyzing collaboration, sparking action. All at the intersection of education and technology.
Africa has an opportunity. Can we be bold, audacious, and strategic enough to help it transform the continent for the better?
Every month on EdTech Mondays.
Kilimanjaro Blind Trust Africa
or KBTA, works to unlock literacy for learners with visual impairment in East Africa and Malawi. Every learner with visual impairment has a right to quality education and opportunities for employment in diverse areas towards independence and inclusion. KBTA provides access to digital braille assistive devices that represent the reading and writing material for learners with visual impairment. We support visually impaired learners across 250 primary and secondary schools, as well as tertiary institutions, to transition from mechanical braille to digital technology through an affordable and multifunctional digital braille assistive device called the Orbit Reader 20. The Orbit Reader is a true game changer. It is revolutionizing the participation of visually impaired learners with their teachers in inclusive classrooms across Kenya. We provide full service along with the Orbit Reader 20. We provide curriculum content, training of teachers and technicians, as well as the repair and maintenance of the devices. KBTA has distributed 2,000 Orbit Readers across 250 schools and colleges in East Africa and Malawi. KBTA's ambitious goal is to ensure that every learner with visual impairment in school has access to a functional digital braille assistive device. The Orbit Reader 20 has changed the paradigm on how visually impaired learners access quality education with improved classroom participation, teacher-learner interaction, better performance, increased transition to higher levels of education, access to STEM subjects, and greater levels of confidence. An additional 1,000 devices are urgently needed to fill the gap and ensure that every visually impaired learner in school has an Orbit Reader. Unlock literacy for life by supporting KBTA to open real opportunities for the visually impaired learner in schools and colleges so that they can reach their true potential like any other learner and become independent and active citizens. We are so grateful to all of our heroes who have supported our cause in promoting inclusion for learners with visual impairment. With your support, inclusion can be real. Visit www.kilimanjaro-blindtrust.org to donate.
What if learning is nurtured right from the start? If it doesn't just focus on letters and numbers, but is holistic for the well-being of learners, families, and communities? What if opportunities in life are based on both how and what we learn, not what we are born into? What if we listened more deeply to local communities and further supported them to build on what works and what's needed? What if the more we learn from one another, the more we could co-create opportunities together? What if learning could lift up every family and be felt for generations to come? What if we could shift systems to be healthier, more equitable, and responsive to learners wherever they are? If we can imagine a more hopeful future together, then we can create that future today.
Around the world, we see great work happening to improve children's education through EdTech, but we don't typically see education technology actually scaling. Here are 8 reasons why we found that's the case. Firstly, there just isn't enough robust evidence about what does and doesn't work in EdTech, especially in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Where there is evidence, there's a gap between what's known and what's happening in practice. In sectors that have led the charge in digital transformation, like entertainment and finance, there's a much narrower gap between this theory and practice. Even though private sector EdTech is growing fast and attracting investment globally, the same isn't true within government-run education departments. Here, budgets are continuously stretched, especially through and since the COVID pandemic. The private sector and marginalized learners can feel like oil and water. Private sector innovation tends to customer-facing revenue models, which by definition exclude the poorest. EdTech is still often about products rather than problems. Instead of asking, how might we add tech to education, we should be asking, how might we educate in a tech-enabled world? There just isn't a silver bullet. You can't just design an EdTech product, give it to a group of people and say, job done. EdTech is best thought of as a service that unfolds over time and takes policy, pedagogy, and business model into consideration. Funding and support for EdTech is often focused on early-stage ideas instead of those ready to explore growth and reach more users. The education sector is fragmented, with government, private sector, and NGOs all playing a role, with time-strapped government at the center of this mix. At times, EdTech isn't dealt with by the education department at all. At the EdTech Hub, we run sandboxes to tackle these issues and rethink implementation. Visit edtechhub.org/sandboxes to find out more and join the conversation.
Education in Kenya is plagued with challenges of quality and relevance. Literacy and numeracy rates have been on the decline, with less than a third of children in grade 3 having basic grade 2 level skills. The pupil-to-teacher ratio in public schools is reported to be 56:1 against the recommended 40:1. Having gone through the same education system, we understand firsthand what challenges exist for young Kenyans. Hence the reason we founded Angaza Elimu, an EdTech enterprise to address these challenges by delivering on-demand, quality and relevant education using artificial intelligence-powered e-learning platforms. Through these platforms, we offer personalized learning experience to students and amplify their engagement with teachers. We also offer an interactive hands-on training program on science, technology, engineering, art, math, and entrepreneurship to equip students with relevant skills needed to succeed in 21st century workforce and as entrepreneurs who can lead to an increase in productivity and drive economic growth. Through our platforms, over the past 2 years, more than 21,000 students have recorded an average improvement of 24% in their performance. More than 14,000 students have gained concrete 21st century skills through the STEAM program. By getting more support from you, we hope to scale this impact across Kenya and beyond.
In 2020, the MasterCard Foundation launched EdTech Mondays, a platform to mainstream discussion and crowd in action on using technology to drive learning. What started as an education technology conversation in Rwanda has grown into a vibrant Pan-African dialogue with the Continental Show on CNBC Africa and Young Africa Works.
A very warm welcome to EdTech Monday Regional Edition. I'm Julie Gishuru, and it's a great pleasure to have you with us.
How sure are we that what my learner is accessing is authentic, is approved?
Parents, of course, they were concerned about learning loss, but they were also really concerned about children's well-being.
And spin-off conversations on radio, TV, and online.
This is EdTech Monday on City FM. It's also live on Facebook and YouTube.
Welcome to EdTech Monday Uganda, brought to you by the Mastercard Foundation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of EdTech Monday Kenya.
EdTech Mondays has become a leading platform bringing together policymakers, EdTech innovators, parents, teachers, and young people. Fostering connections, catalyzing collaboration, sparking action. All at the intersection of education and technology.
Africa has an opportunity. Can we be bold, audacious, and strategic enough to help it transform the continent for the better?
Every month on EdTech Mondays.
Kilimanjaro Blind Trust Africa, or KBTA, works to unlock literacy for learners with visual impairment in East Africa and Malawi. Every learner with visual impairment has a right to quality education and opportunities for employment in diverse areas towards independence and inclusion. KBTA provides access to digital braille assistive devices that represent the reading and writing material for learners with visual impairment. We support visually impaired learners across 250 primary and secondary schools, as well as tertiary.
In 2020, the Mastercard Foundation launched EdTech Mondays, a platform to mainstream discussion and crowd in action on using technology to drive learning. What started as an education technology conversation in Rwanda has grown into a vibrant Pan-African dialogue with the Continental Show on CNBC Africa and Young Africa Works.
A very warm welcome to EdTech Monday Regional Edition. I'm Julie Gishuru, and it's a great pleasure to have you with us.
How sure are we that what my learner is accessing is authentic, is approved?
Parents, of course, they were concerned about learning loss, but they were also really concerned about children's well-being.
And spin-off conversations on radio, TV, and online.
This is EdTech Monday on City FM. It's also live on Facebook and YouTube.
Welcome to EdTech Monday Uganda, brought to you by the Mastercard Foundation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of EdTech Monday Kenya.
EdTech Mondays has become a leading platform bringing together policymakers, EdTech innovators, parents, teachers, and young people. Fostering connections, catalyzing collaboration, sparking action. All at the intersection of education and technology.
Africa has an opportunity. Can we be bold, audacious, and strategic enough to help it transform the continent for the better?
Every month on EdTech Mondays.
Kilimanjaro Blind Trust Africa, or KBTA, works to unlock literacy for learners with visual impairment in East Africa and Malawi. Every learner with visual impairment has a right to quality education and opportunities for employment in diverse areas towards independence and inclusion. KBTA provides access to digital braille assistive devices that represent the reading and writing material for learners with visual impairment. We support visually impaired learners across 250 primary and secondary schools, as well as tertiary institutions, to transition from mechanical braille to digital technology through an affordable and multifunctional digital braille assistive device called the Orbit Reader 20. The Orbit Reader is a true game changer. It is revolutionizing the participation of visually impaired learners with their teachers in inclusive classrooms across Kenya. We provide full service along with the Orbit Reader 20. We provide curriculum content, training of teachers and technicians, as well as the repair and maintenance of the devices. KBTA has distributed 2,000 Orbit Readers across 250 schools and colleges in East Africa and Malawi. KBTA's ambitious goal is to ensure that every learner with visual impairment in school has access to a functional digital braille assistive device. The Orbit Reader 20 has changed the paradigm on how visually impaired learners access quality education with improved classroom participation, teacher-learner interaction, better performance, increased transition to higher levels of education, access to STEM subjects, and greater levels of confidence. An additional 1,000 devices are urgently needed to fill the gap and ensure that every visually impaired learner in school has an Orbit Reader. Unlock literacy for life by supporting KBTA to open real opportunities for the visually impaired learner in schools and colleges so that they can reach their true potential like any other learner and become independent and active citizens. We are so grateful to all of our heroes who have supported our cause in promoting inclusion for learners with visual impairment. With your support, inclusion can be real. Visit www.kilimanjaro-blindtrust.org to donate.
What if learning is nurtured right from the start? If it doesn't just focus on letters and numbers, but is holistic for the well-being of learners, families, and communities? What if opportunities in life are based on both how and what we learn, not what we are born into? What if we listened more deeply to local communities and further supported them to build on what works and what's needed? What if the more we learn from one another, the more we could co-create opportunities together? What if learning could lift up every family and be felt for generations to come? What if we could shift systems to be healthier, more equitable, and responsive to learners wherever they are? If we can imagine a more hopeful future together, then we can create that future today.
Around the world, we see great work happening to improve children's education through EdTech, but we don't typically see education technology actually scaling. Here are 8 reasons why we found that's the case. Firstly, there just isn't enough robust evidence about what does and doesn't work in EdTech, especially in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Where there is evidence, there's a gap between what's known and what's happening in practice. In sectors that have led the charge in digital transformation, like entertainment and finance, there's a much narrower gap between this theory and practice. Even though private sector EdTech is growing fast and attracting investment globally, the same isn't true within government-run education departments. Here, budgets are continuously stretched, especially through and since the COVID pandemic. The private sector and marginalized learners can feel like oil and water. Private sector innovation tends to customer-facing revenue models, which by definition exclude the poorest. EdTech is still often about products rather than problems. Instead of asking, how might we add tech to education, we should be asking, how might we educate in a tech-enabled world? There just isn't a silver bullet. You can't just do edtechhub.org/sandboxes to find out more and join the conversation.
Education in Kenya is plagued with challenges of quality and relevance. Literacy and numeracy rates have been on the decline, with less than a third of children in grade 3 having basic grade 2 level skills. The pupil-to-teacher ratio in public schools is reported to be 56:1 against the recommended 40:1. Having gone through the same education system, we understand firsthand what challenges exist for young Kenyans. Hence the reason we founded Angaza Elimu, an EdTech enterprise to address these challenges by delivering on-demand, quality and relevant education using artificial intelligence-powered e-learning platforms. Through these platforms, we offer personalized learning experience to students and amplify their engagement with teachers. We also offer an interactive hands-on training program on science, technology, engineering, art, math, and entrepreneurship to equip students with relevant skills needed to succeed in 21st century workforce and as entrepreneurs who can lead to an increase in productivity and drive economic growth. Through our platforms, over the past 2 years, more than 21,000 students have recorded an average improvement of 24% in their performance. More than 14,000 students have gained concrete 21st century skills through the STEAM program. By getting more support from you, we hope to scale this impact across Kenya and beyond.
In 2020, the MasterCard Foundation launched EdTech Mondays, a platform to mainstream discussion and crowd in action on using technology to drive learning. What started as an education technology conversation in Rwanda has grown into a vibrant Pan-African dialogue with the Continental Show on CNBC Africa and Young Africa Works.
A very warm welcome to EdTech Monday Regional Edition. I'm Julie Gishuru, and it's a great pleasure to have you with us.
How sure are we that what Mailana is accessing is authentic, is approved?
Parents, of course, they were concerned about learning loss, but they were also really concerned about children's well-being.
And spin-off conversations on radio, TV, and online.
This is EdTech Monday on City FM. It's also live on Facebook and YouTube.
Welcome to EdTech Monday Uganda, brought to you by the MasterCard Foundation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of EdTech Monday Kenya.
EdTech Mondays has become a leading platform bringing together policymakers, EdTech innovators, parents, teachers, and young people. Fostering connections, catalyzing collaboration, sparking action. All at the intersection of education and technology.
Africa has an opportunity. Can we be bold, audacious, and strategic enough to help it transform the continent for the better?
Every month on EdTech Mondays.
The work that they do, but I think that they're doing an amazing job in communicating to people learning and living with disabilities out there. So we really do appreciate all the sign language interpreters who help in EdTech as well, or demystifying EdTech to everyone out there. So like I said, we are now in the final part of today, and would like to start us off by letting us know that there are so many innovators, depending on which language you speak, really. And people are doing amazing work out there in the EdTech space. We're here to celebrate them. And I know that each one of us here is doing amazing work. We are developing, we are collaborating, we are partnering, and we are coming up with solutions to different EdTech challenges. And really, we should spare time to celebrate these innovations, these partnerships, these collaborations, and which is what this part of today is dedicated to. And we are going to be celebrating 3 key innovators and EdTech companies who are going to be guiding us through, or at least paving the way, or sort of setting the pace for us on how we should go about our next phase of innovation and development. And through them, we should get inspired as well to be the top 3 for the next EdTech Summit that we're going to have in 2023, yeah? So allow me welcome Jen to come and take over this part of the session, because it involves a lot of celebrating. Are you guys energized enough for celebrating? Or should I energize you? Do you need some energy drinks? Or do you need energy KDFs? All right, Jen, please take it away. A round of applause for Jen.
Perfect, thank you. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you again, to be back up here. I have been able to interact with many of you throughout the day. I've been so inspired to hear your reflections on the connections you're making, the learnings you're having, and the people that you're inspired by. And I'm really excited to continue that through this session. We have, since 2014, our whole goal as EdTech East Africa is to create transparency into the amazing innovations that are happening in our ecosystem. We've been hosting meetups, we've been having online sessions, we've been partnering with the MasterCard Foundation to host EdTech Mondays, all in the service of helping to hopefully create more transparency into what amazing people like you are doing to transform teaching and learning. And so today is just an extension of that. And our goal is to celebrate all of you, but specifically 3 from our community who are recognized at a global level. There's an organization many of you may know called 100.org. 100.org runs global spotlight competitions, and they highlight amazing innovations from across the world. They share a similar goal of trying to highlight these innovations with the hope that that inspires others, it helps provide evidence into what's working, and ultimately helps to further transform education systems around the world. They hosted a global competition, and 4 Kenyan organizations were amongst the top 100 across the globe that were a part of that global collection. 3 of those are EdTech innovations, very happy to report, or use technology as a core part of their intervention. And are EdTech innovations, very happy to report, or use technology as a core part of their intervention. And so it's those 3 specific interventions that we're going to be celebrating today. As you'll see, there was, on the last slide, you saw that there was over 3,000 that they looked at. Those 3,000 submissions were looked at by a global panel of experts in education and technology and reviewed to provide insight into things like sustainability, scalability, impact, and a number of other metrics. And so we said, this is a wonderful set of criteria. We love this. We're going to piggyback on their work and help amplify those that were selected as a part of that competition. You can see that almost a quarter of the submissions actually came from the continent. I hope that if we continue to have more representation, this number continues to inch up because of all of the great work in our community, because of all of the support that our entrepreneurs receive from everyone in this room, that number of submissions and the number of winners continues to raise in the coming years. But today, we're going to celebrate 3 Kenyan innovations using technology to transform teaching and learning. We're going to make this fast, we're going to make it fun, and we're going to include all of you so you can learn about these innovations and encourage you to connect with these entrepreneurs and innovators after today's session. I'm going to invite my colleague, Eric Nyamaro, to come up and help me to introduce these innovations. So please welcome Eric.
Thank you very much, Jennifer and colleagues. So let's go straight into it. One of the organizations we want to recognize today does work focusing on foundational literacy and numeracy. How long does it take to bring a child to speed who's in class but not learning? Their innovation, what they came up with is a methodology of teaching at the right level. So much so that in 30 days, the change in reading is very visible. This is Zizi Africa. So we're gonna watch a video of the work they do, and then we're gonna celebrate them.
Mwanafunzi wetu popote pale ulipo, karibu sana katika kipindi chako cha Jisomee Jitegemee. Na kwenye majengo niko na
EdTech Teacher V.
Asante sana. Amani FM.
Halo. Kitandawili. Bega.
The Accelerated Learning Program is implemented by Zizi Africa Foundation in partnership with county-based partners. Why we do this kind of work is because of the realization that literacy is a basic requirement for any child.
From the assessment, it was found out that there are a good number of learners in this sub-county who are not at the level that they are required in terms of literacy and in terms of numeracy. A good percentage of people are pastoralists, and they will prefer their children to look after the animal rather than going to school.
Sisi kama wasichana tukiwa nyumbani, tunafagia nyumba, tunaosha vyombo, na huwa tupate muda wa kutosha kwa masomo.
Wakati watoto hawasomi, wanakuwa na shughuli nyingi nje, kuna visa vya watoto kupata mimba za mapema.
Sasa when COVID ilikuja ikaharibu maneno, all of a sudden shule zikafungwa. The program ikatuambia lazima tuendelee na learning.
Jaribu tongue twister yetu ya siku. Betty bought a boat some butter but he says the butter's bitter.
Betty bought some butter but he said bitter butter.
Shirika la kwa hivyo sasa ile ambayo tunafika kulingana na mtoto, ile level ambayo yuko, tunamsaidia mtoto kutoka hapo. Ilikuwa jukumu letu ni kuifuatilizia watoto walikuwa wanafuata hiyo program.
Kusema kweli, wazazi walitusaidia pakubwa kwa kutupatia mwalimu. Kulingana na program, hawa ambayo tulipata waliweza kusaidika sana. Tuliweza tukagundua kwamba wale watoto waliongeza masomo. Mradi huu
Education in Kenya is plagued with challenges of quality and relevance. Literacy and numeracy rates have been on the decline, with less than a third of children in grade 3 having basic grade 2 level skills. The pupil-to-teacher ratio in public schools is reported to be 56:1 against the recommended 40:1. Having gone through the same education system, we understand firsthand what challenges exist for young Kenyans. Hence the reason we founded Angaza Elimu, an EdTech enterprise to address these challenges by delivering
Aman FM.
Kitendawili.
The Accelerated Learning Program is implemented by Zizi Africa Foundation.
Ravin alikuwa yuko na shida kidogo kabla hajaingia katika huu mradi, lakini recently sahii anasoma, within no time amemaliza.
Napenda mradi kwa sababu unajisomea free of course, kwenda nyumbani kuchukua pesa na unapata time ya kuketi na mwalimu wako na wenzako.
Long time ago, cassava and nilikuwa sijui kusoma, lakini nilipoingia nikajua kusoma. Nikikuwa mkubwa nitakuwa polisi na nitakusaidia nchi yangu.
Nilikuwa mimi siwezi kujisomea mimi peke yangu, na sasa niko story na naweza kujisomea mimi peke yangu bila mtu kunielezea.
So we support them to read, we support them to do basic math, because if a child can read for themselves, then they are able to learn by themselves. So that is what we wish that each of our children can acquire.
Ningetaka huu mradi uendelee kwa sababu huu mradi ingekuwa haungekuwa singefika hapa nilipo, na ingekuwa nimesahau masomo yote yale yenye tumefundishwa tulipokuwa shule.
Siku moja mbwa aliyapata mayai kando ya
I am for you.
In 30 days, the outcomes are visible. This is by Zizi Afrique. They were to be represented here by Dr. John Mugo, but he was not able to make it. But let's just celebrate them, even in absentia. And most importantly, he'll be here tomorrow. The team will be here tomorrow for us to learn, pick the tools, the methodologies, and go and apply them. Thank you very much to Zizi Afrique for the winning and being recognized in this space. We keep moving on and move to the second one that makes it possible for every learner in their own pace on a platform that's AI powered. I hope now with these technologies, since we are all of the same space, we get the acronyms. It makes it possible for the learners in their own pace to learn on a platform that is able to pick their pace, where they are at, and give them assessments that are fitting the level they are in. Please, let's watch the story of Angaza Elimu.
Education in Kenya is plagued with challenges of quality and relevance. Literacy and numeracy rates have been on the decline, with less than a third of children in grade 3 having basic grade 2 level skills. The pupil-to-teacher ratio in public schools is reported to be 56:1 against the recommended 40:1. Having gone through the same education system, we understand firsthand what challenges exist for young Kenyans. Hence the reason we founded Angaza Elimu, an EdTech enterprise to address these challenges by delivering on-demand, quality and relevant education using artificial intelligence-powered e-learning platforms. Through these platforms, we offer personalized learning experience to students and amplify their engagement with teachers. We also offer an interactive hands-on training program on science, technology, engineering, art, math, and entrepreneurship to equip students with relevant skills needed to succeed in 21st century workforce and as entrepreneurs who can lead to an increase in productivity and drive economic growth. Through our platforms, over the past 2 years, more than 21,000 students have recorded an average improvement of 34% in their performance. More than 14,000 students have gained concrete 21st century skills through the STEAM program. By getting more support from you, we hope to scale this impact across Kenya and beyond. Education in Kenya is plagued with challenges of quality and relevance.
Thank you very much. As we learn also, technology in education sometimes doesn't work, but we always get it back. Let's welcome Kiko Mumo, please. If you are in the room, kindly, let's appreciate him as he comes. Kiko, congratulations. I want to give you some few minutes just to share your word with the audience here. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Glad to have you all and super excited to be here and seeing the support that you all put in the ecosystem. We're not walking this journey alone as Angaza Elimu, and we're always excited to have and see people always encouraging us, supporting the work that we're doing, and moving beyond just to ensure that every kid in Kenya receives the best education. And so at Angaza Elimu, we'll keep continuing to ensure that we are able to reach to every student, and we're looking forward to looking even to the very underserved students in Kenya, are able to take charge of their own learning experience and support teachers. I mean, I really like the townhouse conversation that was happening below, and we're looking forward on how do we provide teachers with the evidence to understand how they can know how their students are progressing, where their gaps are, and how best to intervene with them. And so beyond that also, we're looking into terms of, once we set that foundation of literacy and numeracy, then how can we go for skills on 21st century? And here is where we look into terms of really hands-on training to really prepare students for the 21st century workforce. And we're looking forward to seeing how these students will be graduating from school. And even before they graduate from school, can they start to build solutions that are able to solve problems in their community. We're looking forward how do we accelerate the SDGs in areas like, I know everyone is speaking about zero hunger. How do we leverage technology to deploy solutions to support smart farming and look into smart cities and healthcare? And so that's the work that we are working and looking forward to. I mean, our work wouldn't go without recognizing some of the partners that we do work with in the room. Our biggest supporter, Liquid Intelligent Technologies, who are working with us for the IoT school training, and recent one of our biggest partner whom we're working together, UNICEF, through the Giga connectivity work. And this ensures that students are able to have the infrastructure set. I mean, because our work will not be able to succeed if we don't have that infrastructure of connectivity. And also lastly, the government. I mean, we're super excited by the work that the government is doing through the digital literacy program. And we're looking forward, how do we create value from such devices that have been put in schools to deploy value through the systems that we're providing. And so for us, we take this recognition huge. It was big sitting in Helsinki in Finland last month to receive also this recognition. We know that Kenya has put a lot of responsibility on us, and we keep, it was a great joy flying the Kenyan flag high in Helsinki among other innovators from the whole of the continent, and that really gives us the passion to keep going, and to know that EdTech has just taken the speed, and anyone who is going to be left behind, it's a huge worry. And glad that this summit is happening, glad everyone is here, and glad that the speed is taken up. So thank you so much, and definitely looking forward to contributing. We're more than happy to share more about the work, so feel free to speak with us tomorrow and even later in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kiko. And as he said, he'll be here tomorrow, just in case we want to learn more about their programs and see if we can adapt them to what we're currently doing. Last but not least is an organization that is looking at those of us, the children, sometimes who could be living in the informal settlement. And these belong to our mothers, our sisters, even our brothers who are living in the informal settlement. They have a hard choice to make. Am I going to work to earn my daily living and I have a child? Where do I leave this child? Who do I leave the child with? Is the child safe? As maybe if it's a lady, she's coming to do for us the daily job of maybe Mama Fu, as we call them. They have a child back in their houses. So this organization is called Kidogo, and what they've come up with is a social enterprise model that allows the Mama Fuas to start up a safe space to take care of the younger ones, so that those of them who go to work, you are at peace when you are working, you give your full-time dedication to the job, you know that your child is safe in the safe space and they're taken care of. Let's watch the video about their work.
Quality, affordable childcare is an issue around the world. Science tells us that the first 5 years of a child's life, and particularly those first 1,000 days, are the most important in their development and will determine the trajectory of the child's life. At Kidogo, we use a social franchising model to improve the quality of informal daycares while increasing the profitability for the women who are running those daycares. Kidogo actually started quite by accident. I stumbled across my first daycare in a slum just outside of Nairobi. The smell was overwhelming. There was no sanitation at all. And I saw babies all around me, 20, 25 of them, completely silent. They had either been so severely neglected or they were given alcohol or a sleeping pill to keep them hushed through the day. Parents were paying for this because this was their best childcare option. My husband and I thought, how might we provide a higher quality childcare option at roughly the same price point that mums were already paying, about $1 per day? Over the last 7 years, we have become the largest childcare network in Kenya, with over 500 mamapreneurs serving over 13,000 young children. I think what it comes down to is seeing childcare as a public good, not an afterthought. It is a vital component to thriving economies. When women are able to work because they've got access to quality, affordable childcare, companies grow. There's better retention rates, there's less absenteeism, and you're building a pipeline of human capital for the next generation. Being a mom is crazy. Overnight, everything has changed. My priorities, my identity. No mother should have to decide between working to put food on her table or providing quality care for her child. And no child should be deprived of the opportunity to reach her full potential just because of the circumstances that she was born in.
Let's celebrate them. So it's really about training the mamapreneurs the skills so that they can take care of the children and they get to earn a living out of that. The video is great. Let's listen. Let me welcome on stage the team from Kidogo in the room. Please, let's appreciate. Let's listen from her. Let's keep on appreciating as she comes to just share a word with us about what our experience has been as one of the persons learning the Child Care Center.
Thank you so much. So my name is Susan Mtana, the Finance and HR Leader at Kidogo. And today, I'd like to dedicate this moment to one of our mamapreneurs, the women who run the Child Care Centers. So allow me to welcome Mama Janet, just to briefly share her story. And even as she comes on stage, I'll say that in this era, we've decided to also provide them with an app whereby they can track the child attendance, the milestones, and their profitability, because we say that our model should be good for the child to reach their full potential. Also, the mamapreneurs like Janet to run a thriving business, and also the parent to have peace of mind while they work. So allow me to welcome Janet to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Hi, my name is Janet. I have a daycare. My daycare is in Kibera, just a few meters from Ngong Hills Hotel. So our daycare has 22 kids, aged from 2 to 4 years old. Okay. The reason as to why I chose Kidogo, it was through a friend. I had a friend talking about Kidogo, and then I went to tell my director about the Kidogo, the organization of Kidogo. After that, she allowed me to join it, whereby it was early last year. When I joined the Kidogo, I went through training. After a couple of months, I graduated and I was issued a certificate which qualifies me as a caregiver. Okay, I thank you, all people from Kidogo, because through that organization, I have really achieved a lot and learned a lot through that organization. Okay, in the first place, I did not know how to handle kids, these young kids. Maybe a parent could bring a child to school, maybe 2 years. The child cries all the time. I don't know how to silence that child. But after going through that training, I tell you, I have achieved a lot. I can now handle a child of any age. I can handle a child of any age. And that's a very good thing that Kidogo has taught me. Kidogo is a very good organization. As you can see, they have given us t-shirts to identify ourselves. So, can we give them a hand clap? Okay, these people, I really like these people because the organization is very good, because it has taught us a lot of things. Okay, at first, when the parent was bringing a child, before going through the training, I could just take the child without even talking to the parent. Maybe the child is sleeping. I just pick the child without knowing the status of the child. But when we went to Kidogo training, they taught us how to welcome a parent, to take the child and to check the health of that child. It is very important to check the health of a child because maybe a parent can just give you a child. Maybe that child is sleeping, and maybe in any case, a child might have been defiled from home. So when you take the child, when a parent comes in the evening, she tells you, what happened to my child? So Kidogo has taught us how to check the health of that child. So when a parent comes, you greet the parent, you welcome the parent, and then you, how was your child? How did the child sleep? So that is one thing I achieved from Kidogo. And I really thank that organization for that. They have also introduced a feeding program whereby they bring eggs to the school. And that one is very important. The children love the eggs because the parents of nowadays, with the life of this nowadays, it's very difficult for a parent to go and purchase an egg. It is very difficult. A parent can also maybe buy sukuma wiki, but with the eggs, no. So the Kidogo has introduced the feeding program of eggs so that it has made our daycare to grow big and big. What I can tell you, we started with 4 children. And after introducing the feeding program, the number has increased to 22, which is a very big improvement. So I really thank Kidogo organization. Another thing, our team leader always visits us often. She visits us often to check if the work is implemented in our daycares. So they are really doing a very great job. Another thing, we have COP meetings. COP meetings whereby we meet every week as teachers. We meet new teachers, we mingle together, we make new friends, we make more materials. So Kidogo has taught us very, very many things that I cannot forget them. I really thank that organization. And the first place, when we were enrolling a child, we used to tell the parents, can you bring playing materials, dolls? Maybe we are having conflicts with the parents. Maybe you tell a parent, can you bring a doll or a toy? A parent is telling you, can I pay the school fees or I bring the toys? So without that parent knowing that the toys are very important, the playing materials. So when I joined the Kidogo organization, they taught me how to make local materials. As now, we don't have conflicts with parents because I can make more than 3 materials in a day. So that has made our daycare to grow. Because when a child comes, when that child was coming crying to school, she finds so many materials, just taking a doll, a toy car, she plays with that toy, then she forgets about crying. So Kidogo people, I really thank you so much for that organization you brought into our slums Kibera. Yes, I come from Kibera slums, and I really thank. So I really thank Kidogo people, and I really pray to God to give you more days. Live long, Kidogo. You have done a very good job to us. Another thing without forgetting, they do monitor the growth of a child. When they send people, they come and monitor the growth of a child. Before then, we did not know how to monitor the growth of a child. When they come and see there is a problem, they advise what to do. I salute you, Kidogo people. Thank you.
Janet, thank you very much. Let's give a hand another round. Janet is just one. She also has other. Let's just stand up and appreciate. Please, tuame tuwapige tu makofi pia. Let's appreciate the fellow mamapreneurs who came. Let's appreciate them. I will not add what Mama said here. So are you still accepting more children so that in case anyone is here, they can drop the child? Yes. Please, if you have a child, please. Thank you very much. And then welcome Jennifer on the stage to wrap up the session.
Thank you so much. One of the other interesting innovations that Kidogo did during the pandemic was also because of course, the Kidogo centers needed to close per government mandate to keep everyone safe. They also created digital content to support parents at home, to make sure that parents were also able to provide the same level of quality care as our amazing mamapreneurs here. So if you haven't had a chance, go look at Kidogo's YouTube channel. There's tons of lovely content, digital content there, where you can see how the training, a little bit of how the training for our mamapreneurs happens, but also resources available for parents as well. So thank you to all of you, to our mamapreneurs, for sharing your story. I'd like to ask Susan and Kiko to just come back up as we wrap up. One of the things that we have done since the very beginning of EdTech meetups is an activity called Asks and Offers. And it's a way for us to know, as the community supporting these entrepreneurs, what we can do to help them and help continue to scale the amazing work that they're already doing. So I'm going to ask you to each make an ask of this community so that they know how to better support you in your work.
Thank you. So I'll say, Kidogo, we work in the low-income communities, and at that level you find like the women entrepreneurs that we work with, or even the parents, have the access to technology or even to mobile phones and such is limited. So how can we ensure that we promote EdTech at the low-income communities? Thank you.
Yeah, for me, we move in terms of setting up an EdTech that is really data-driven and in terms of generating evidence. And our goal is to see for everyone, because I know a lot of different people are sitting here, especially for the entrepreneurs, fellow innovators. It's for us to be open up in terms of sharing some of the evidence that you're creating so that we can keep learning from each other, and we can all use that evidence and adapt it in the work that we're doing to see how best we can look in terms of further innovation and supporting the beneficiaries that we are working on. So its production of more evidence and providing it to be and leveraging on the power of open source for evidence. Thank you.
Amazing. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to ask our mamapreneurs to come up here with us as well. Please come up and join us at the front. I'd like you to say, because these also are innovators, right? So let's celebrate all of our innovators. Please let's celebrate together our amazing Global Spotlight winners. Let's congratulate them. Thank you. Fabulous. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. And please do continue to ask for our support. That is why we're here. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, thank you. Thank you, thank you. This brings us to the end of today. I hope throughout the day you've had a chance to, again, hear about evidence, inspiring stories that are shaping and changing the way you think about the possibilities for technology transforming teaching and learning. Tomorrow, our goal will be to say, how can we do it better together? How do we go farther together? The finger pointing, the blame game, it hasn't been working for us. We know that there are way better ways for us to figure out how to solve our problems. That's why you're here. We expect you to be a part of the solution. So tomorrow is all about how can we demystify those processes of collaboration and build something amazing moving forward. So the first thing we'll do is we'll have how-to sessions that talk about the practicalities of collaboration. You heard Kiko mention some of his amazing technology partners. How did he make those relationships? What did it take to make a partnership like that work? That's the kind of insight, the foundation in those pillars that are driven by government to say, what's the way forward for our community? So we look forward to seeing all of you then. Thank you all for your amazing participation today. I'm going to turn it back over to Joy to close us out. And then, again, have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing all of you again tomorrow. Joy.
Do we need a drums roll for Jennifer? I think we do. I think we do, like a mini brief drums roll at the very end, and to everyone as well. So thank you so much, Jen, for celebrating these innovators as well. Zizi, Angaza Elimu, and Kidogo. You really do deserve this celebration. And we hope that we are all inspired that next year, the next 3 are going to be coming from this very room. And we're going to be celebrating maybe more than 3. You never know. There might be 6. We just never know. But congratulations to all of you who have been recognized. And please know that we do appreciate your work. And when a lady there was saying, you know, may you live long, Kidogo. That stuck with me, you know. May you live long, Kidogo. So may you come back here, okay, tomorrow as well. We've come to the end, and just like Jen has already gone over what to expect tomorrow, let me quickly run us through, because today was more about working with the evidence. Tomorrow we're going further together. How are we moving into the next year? Because I think many of us are taking the time out of the rest of what we're left with November and into December to plan what we're meant to be doing next year, which is a good way to start, or a good way to look at it, because now we know when we're innovating, who do we go to? Maybe it's KICD who need to approve our content, but how do we go about it? Do we need to consult? Everybody I think that you want to talk to has been in this room today. And so tomorrow we're going to be going farther together. And when we come back here tomorrow, we'll have, of course, just a bit of registration. Maybe there'll be people who'll be coming in for the first time tomorrow. So we'll do a bit of checking in and then do the walk. Yesterday, or rather today, we had, I'm already in tomorrow. So today we had the scavenger walk or scavenger hunt Tomorrow we're going to have a gallery walk, which is pretty much what we did today. But this time is going to be focused on what we need to achieve. Remember, we had these 5 questions that were put to us as a challenge by Shiko, a challenge to us, and will the technology lead, or the technology that you develop, will it lead to a sustained impact on learning outcomes? And the other 5 questions as well that she did pose to us. So we need to have all of this in mind as we look towards going further together. And then we will have the collective action launch, which is one that I think none of us should really miss out on, because this is where most of the impact is going to be. And then we'll have the tea and networking, but we also need to pay attention to the how-to workshops. These ones are going to guide us. So sometimes, you know, we want to talk to the media, or we want to know how to develop, or we want to know how to develop the right technologies for a specific end goal. How do we go about all of that? And there's going to be all of those sessions tomorrow that we can look into. So make sure you also interact with the Slido platform. That's going to give you all the details about how you can participate. The same way you did it today is the same way you're going to do it tomorrow. You will pick the sessions that you would like to participate in, and you will be fine, right? So we'll also have the networking lounge. If you went through the different rooms, we had Ndovu, Chui, we had Simba, and which was the other one? Nyati, and the Nyati room. So those same rooms are what we're going to use for the how-to workshops. We also had the lounge, solutions lounge today. That's what's going to be a networking lounge tomorrow. So the room that was a solutions lounge today is going to be the networking lounge tomorrow. Am I right? Yes. And so then we'll have those. So in case you feel, which is I highly doubt, if you feel like you don't want to attend any of the how-to workshops, you can get into the networking lounge. But if you would like to spend some time in the how-to workshops, I suggest this is where you should be. So the options will be there for you to pick on from. Then we'll have lunch, and then come back here for the goal-oriented design sessions. We do have goals that we expect that we're all going to commit to, and that we're all going to work towards going forward, because that's why we're here, basically, for tomorrow. We're going further together. And then after that session, we'll still have the tea and networking, and then we'll come back here for the closing plenary, which is pretty much what it's going to be. Then we'll have the 5 to 7 o'clock, which I think is what was in my mind today when I talked about the club. In the morning. So we're going to have a networking cocktail tomorrow.
In 2020, the MasterCard Foundation launched EdTech Mondays, a platform to mainstream discussion and crowd in action on using in Rwanda has grown into a vibrant Pan-African dialogue with the